Hello and welcome to Lost in Sci-Fi and Fantasy. I'm your host Leo, and today we are talking The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, you might notice that this is coming a little bit out of order by about a week, but that is because I wanted to get this out along with the other things I still planned on doing relatively close to when the film actually came out. So that's why this one might be a little bit more uh, off the cuff and barely edited. I still plan on editing it a little bit, but it's going to be a little bit hectic. But with that said, I hope you enjoy this discussion about The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, overall, we'll get this out of the way. I enjoyed the film. It was a fun little romp. Uh, Showed more of the characters. It gives you, like, if you liked the show, The Mandalorian, you're going to love this. I will say that technically the marketing and discussion around it is correct, that you don't necessarily need to have seen the show, but boy, it helps. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes on that if you haven't seen the show, you'd be like, oh, okay, why is he here? Who are these people? What's going on? Otherwise, if you've seen the show, you know who they are. You know why he's there, and you feel kind of sad when some characters are missing. But otherwise, it is at least watchable without that context. It's a very fun film that shows them just kind of on an adventure and then trying to just kind of do their stuff. I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, something I do want to talk about, like, up front here, besides the fact that I enjoyed it, is the current discourse surrounding the film. Now, the Star Wars fandom has been in a hell of a state ever since the sequel trilogy. Dumbass fans have come out of the woodwork. I don't even think that they actually like Star Wars, to be completely honest. They're the kind of people that get super mad that the sequel trilogy, starred a woman and a black man. They get so up in arms about that kind of thing. To the point where this film, they are still coming out of the woodwork to say, it's terrible, it's bad. And some of the things I've seen is people talking about how, oh, the Star Wars fans are saying that movies don't have to be good. Not every movie or TV show has to be good. And to an extent, that's true. But it's more that all these movies and TV shows don't have to be perfect. It's okay for these things to have flaws. One of the things that people loved about The Mandalorian when it first came out was the fact that it was a ground level, not a universe-ending situation, and we just got to see people hanging out. Now, of course, one of the biggest criticisms is the fact that shortly after that, a Force user is brought in, and then we even get Luke and everything, so it becomes a bit of a mess. But that's fine. Not everything has to be perfect. Could some things be better? Absolutely. For example, I really think Rise of Skywalker could have been much better. Especially, funnily enough, today, the day I'm recording this, I actually looked up the episode 9, like, original script thing, at least the basic plot of it. And just the sounds of that plot sound so good in comparison to what we got. But the thing is, we get what we get. Overall, I don't think that the sequel trilogy is all that bad. It can be rough at times, but so can Solo. Even Rogue One, probably my favorite of the movies that's come out so far, has issues, but I like it. It is a really good movie. I love the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I still have yet to watch, but I am still looking forward to the Acolyte series and Skeleton Crew. I still need to watch season 2 of Andor. I'm behind on a lot of things. But that's the thing. Not everything has to be perfect, and we're just here for fun. Because if you're gonna claim that the original stuff, the things that came out back in the 70s and 80s are perfect, you're fucking lying. Because We have the holiday special. We have Shadow of the Mind's Eye. We have Ewoks. Ewoks, as I said in the Ewoks episode, were a controversial thing when they first released. Things eventually, with time, are fine. It's just a shame that a lot of these things that need time, like TV shows and whatnot, aren't necessarily given that. I would love an Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2. Are we going to get it? Sadly, probably not. Especially since I learned that technically the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was originally pitched as a trilogy of films, but they decided to make it into a show instead to give it more time. And so the first film was adapted into the first season. And I really, really, really want them to adapt the other stuff. Because then we could get a little bit more Qui-Gon Jinn. We could see more of him actually learning and understanding what his role is now. I want that, please. Hell, if they just adapt the Kenobi book, that would be fine too. I don't mind that. It's a bit basic, but it works. But that out of the way. There were weird claims being made about Mandalorian and Grogu, that this movie was meant to save Star Wars, that they were basically putting some very unhealthy expectations on the shoulders of this film. That it's going to save Star Wars, that it's going to be the new beginning and whatnot. But that's not what this is. This, if anything, is supposed to be a film to help transition people from the TV shows back into the movies. The whole point of this is to be an easing back in. Hell, the projections for this film were originally projecting to be at or below Solo expectations. And that's all that Disney at this moment is expecting from the film. Now, of course, people do want it to do good, because if it does good, they might make more movies. They might make even more Mandalorian stuff, which I would be okay with. Supposedly they have an entirely written out fourth season that they have yet to actually use. So I do want them to use that in some form or another. But currently the way we're looking at it is, at least the way I'm looking at this, is The Mandalorian and Grogu is meant as a transitional film. We just got done with the massive overload back in 2019, where we had Force Awakens, followed by Rogue One, followed by Last Jedi, followed immediately by Solo, followed with a little bit of space by Rise of Skywalker. Overall, that was a lot, and it did overwhelm people, especially since immediately after that, we then got Mandalorian, and all the TV stuff started kicking off, and that's where Star Wars has been stuck for the past 6 years. And it has yet to move out of that until now. With this film, we are transitioning from the TV stuff into films, and the thing that has the most expectation right now, probably, is the next film, Starfighter. Now that people are getting used to the idea of watching Star Wars in theaters again, now we are looking towards Starfighter next year to really put the weight on it. With that out of the way, let's actually start talking about what is in the film. Overall, this film feels like it is about 2 to 3 episodes of The Mandalorian stitched together. I could definitely see it being like a story arc in The Mandalorian. Now, so according to what I researched, this film has nothing to do with the concept Season 4 that they had written. They had written a Season 4, but then the strikes happened in 2023, and that was put on the back burner. And when talks of bringing it back were being made, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni decided, let's make a movie first. And that is what this is. Funnily enough, this actually resolves some of the plots from the show. Not entirely, but it does solve some of the lead-ins that were introduced in the show. So, for example, there's Zeb from Star Wars Rebels, who makes an appearance at the very end of Season 3, or I think he makes a cameo sometime in season 3, and then again appears at the very end. He is a decent character that pops up here and there in the show. There's a couple of things that I really think that they should have done, like some missed opportunities that they had for this film, but I'm not going to begrudge them that too much, because it also probably would have felt a little ham-fisted and defeat some of the purposes that they had in trying to distance themselves from the show itself. For example, the main plot revolves around the twins, the two Hutt twins that are introduced in the Book of Boba Fett. They are introduced there as Hutts that are trying to claim Jabba's territory. They go in and they hassle Boba Fett a bit, and there's a big climax at the end where the Mandalorian, Grogu, and everybody come in to help him protect Mos Eisley and whatnot from the horde that the twins send after Boba Fett. They are the primary antagonists of this film. This film has like 3 different starts and stops. So you have the initial 20-ish minutes where we have kind of a cold open feel, kind of. And it's Grogu and the Mandalorian on a normal job. At the end of season 3, they are set up. They decide to do bounties for the New Republic, specifically hunting down Imperial leaders that have remained in the galaxy since the Battle of Jakku. Because he had such success with Gideon Hask. Since he had such success with Gideon, he's now going through hunting down different heads of Imperial remnants. So that is what we open up with. There's a leader of an Imperial remnant who is holding his planet hostage and extorting money from them when the Mandalorian comes in and hunts him down. Accidentally kills him, but it's fine. The statement is they're better alive, because then we can actually get information from them, but it is what it is. He returns to his handler, who is played by Sigourney Weaver, and she gives him his next task, and kind of berates him a little bit for letting him die, but is overall understanding. Gives him a brand new Razor Crest as payment for this job, but also technically in advance on the next job. The next job is an unknown. It's the New Republic's ace. It's their ace because he's causing them issues, but at the same time, they don't know what he looks like. So it's going to be a pain in the ass to get. But if they can get him, that's good. So they give him a piece of information. Something to start off on, which is he needs to go to the twins to get the information. They say that they know where he is, so all he has to do is go to them, help them out, and then they'll give him the information. So what he does is he visits them, and their request is, we need you to get our nephew, Rada the Hutt. He is being held by a rival faction and forced to fight in some pits. Well, actually, I don't think they say that, but he's being held prisoner by a rival faction. And then they show him as a baby as their most recent photo that they have of him, which is just mostly a clever, like, if you've seen the Clone Wars movie, you know, how fun. But, and that's the last we had seen of him ourselves, which is fun. And he's like, fine. So he goes to the planet, or moon, whatever, of where they're at, and he goes to see what's going on. He gets some information from a 4-armed Martin Scorsese monkey guy who gives him information but doesn't give him information. And when he's like, oh yeah, Rada the Hutt, and he goes, oh yeah, he fights, and he points over to a poster that's literally just like, if the Mandalorian had just turned his head, he would have noticed. He goes to witness the fight and then visits him in his cell and says, "Hey, we're here to get you out. Your aunt and uncle, the twins, they want you broken out." And he's like, "Yeah, no. They want me dead. Plus, I only have one more fight anyway. Once I do my fight, my debt is paid, my contract's up, and I'm a free agent. So, it's all chill. I'm just going to wait it out." So the Mandalorian decides to go see his boss. His boss is holding onto the contract, and when the Mandalorian says, "Hey, I'll buy out the contract," because, he only has one fight left, he's not of that much value to you anymore, so give me this and we'll go. But he's like, "No, sorry, we're doing a Dejarik fight." Now, Dejarik is the board game that you see in A New Hope. It kind of looks like chess, but on a circular arena thing. You also see it, I believe, in The Force Awakens, and a couple other times here and there it does appear. But a Dejarik fight is essentially all the creatures from Dejarik all attack you at once, essentially, with the purpose of killing you. Once he finds this out, he goes back to Rada to break him out and says, "Hey, dude, they're going to do a Dejarik on you. They intend to kill you. They do not want you to survive this." He doesn't believe him, so he calls the guards. Mandalorian is knocked out by gas, which to me is a little bit of a plot hole, but not entirely, I guess. You'd think his helmet would have like filters, but I guess not. It's inconsistent because a lot of times, they like to tuck under his mask, so I guess his mask doesn't have a full seal. Anywho, he gets knocked out. Grogu's taken captive and put in a birdcage, and he is forced to fight Rada the Hutt. After he defeats Rada and spares him, forfeiting the match, and thus Rada is out of his contract, for he won his last fight, it is thrown into the Dejarik match. Him and Rada team up and fight off the creatures. They accidentally break the arena, and the creatures escape and start terrorizing the city. They also escape. Rada tries to make a full escape from the Mandalorian because he doesn't want to go back to his aunt and uncle. And they capture him with the help of Zeb. So once captured, they're on their way to Nal Hutta to deliver him to the Hutts. When he's like, "Please don't take me there. I don't want to go there. They're going to kill me. Please don't do that." The Mandalorian contemplates, and he's like, "Sorry, man. I don't work for them. I work for the New Republic. I'm trying to find this guy, and your aunt and uncle know where he is." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's the guy that literally just tried to kill me. He's the guy you're looking for." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Look, you're a bounty hunter. You know how to tell truth from lie. Am I lying to you?" So they go to scout out his compound. And lo and behold, yeah, it looks like he is indeed the guy that they're looking for. So they break in, capture him, and deliver him to the New Republic. And yeah, so cool, that's the guy. And then he sets Rada the Hutt free. But the handler is not happy because you broke the deal with the Hutts. You were supposed to deliver to them to get the information. And the Mandalorian's like, "Well, they were playing you. They were playing both sides. They would give us the information, then give the Imperial the information, and thus tip them off, and we would be running around in circles. They would make money off of both of us, and we would likely die. So, not the best plan." She's like, "Nah." So, bounty done, the Mandalorian goes home. He's chilling, he's making some dinner, he's having that lovely suburban life on Navarro. This is where I was actually quite sad because Carl Weathers he played like the regent of Navarro. He used to handle the bounty hunters in The Mandalorian, but then he ended up taking over a town and he ran it justly. But sadly, he passed away, and sadly, this film does not mention it at all. And That I was a little bit saddened by. Not even a small reference to him, which was really sad. But it is what it is. I believe Carl Weathers died like as this film was wrapping up production, so they couldn't do too much, sadly. With that said, though, while the Mandalorian's doing his domestic thing, he is attacked by another bounty hunter, Ebo. He is the bounty hunter, one of the primary bounty hunters of the Star Wars The Clone Wars TV series, and is a very fun character. He has a big kind of flat hat that he uses as a shield and whatnot, and it's very cool. We see them fight for a bit, but the Mandalorian gets trapped and taken back to Nal Hutta. Grogu, who slipped out with the little Anzillions, the little small guys that were introduced in Rise of Skywalker, they pack up a ship because one of their own were also taken by the dog thing that Ebo travels with. Taken back to Nal Hutta. Turns out the twins captured Rod of the Hutt and are now torturing him. They admonish the Mandalorian for not delivering him directly because, hey, if you delivered him directly, he would have had a quick death, but now he's going to suffer for 1,000 years because Hutts are very long-lived, and so he's going to just be tortured until he dies. Eventually, we'll keep him alive as long as possible. And you, we're also going to torture until you die, and then once you die, we're going to torture the little green guy. Because fuck you, that's why. He goes to attack them, but gets dumped into a thing, classic Hutt style. In here, there's these like weird lamprey guys who attack him. He kills them all, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? You entertained us. We'll give you your helmet back." Because they take his helmet off, because his punishment is that he must now know that the Hutt is gonna die a very slow death, and also he has been shamed and cast out of the Mandalorians because his face has been seen. Though he does throw back, not if I kill everybody in this room. At that point, it doesn't count. So, what he does is he's dumped in there, and after he kills the things, they give him back his helmet. He works his way there, gets the helmet, and there's like this big like white snake dragon thing that attacks. He gets nicked by it and poisoned. And while he's fighting it, Grogu shows up because Grogu has his little like armor up sequence and he prepped and came with, and he plants a thing, blows it up, and the Mandalorian's able to escape with Grogu. But they don't get too far. The Hutts send out their droids and more of the like lamprey guys, but they escape out and are in the woods. They're able to fend off their enemies enough, but when they get back to the ship, he realizes, oh, I can't leave because the ship's too small. It's best for Grogu and company to leave, and him to basically stay behind and die while covering their escape. The ship leaves. He passes out just to find Grogu has come back. Grogu tends to him and cares for him. There's this kind of longish sequence where we're watching as Grogu just takes care of him. Eventually, Grogu's able to get a cure from this weird, like, almost Sebulba-like guy, but if Sebulba was a catfish. He gives him a cure. Grogu takes it back, gives it to the Mandalorian, and then falls asleep. Wakes up, and the Mandalorian's fine. Cool. Now they need revenge. So they go to the gunship that had brought Rada, well, was supposed to get Rada safe, but was diverted and I guess crashed onto Nal Hutta. They get it up and running and make the decision of they could escape or get revenge. They opt for revenge. They crash the ship in, start fighting their way through. They free Rada. They fight the twins. The twins and Ebo fall down into the pit. The twins are eaten. Ebo escapes. Mandalorian and Grogu and Rada all start working their way out as the New Republic comes in because the Anzilians went and got them as reinforcements. He calls in a bombing run on the palace, so they all have to escape before the bombs come in, and they do just narrowly, and then they're picked up by Zeb, and then mission done. Success. She admits, yeah, you were right, they were going to double cross us, so fair enough. And that's pretty much it, honestly. And I think that that works out pretty fine. This film does a lot of what it needed to do, but maybe not much more, if anything. And I think that that's fine. Of my rankings, I would probably put it on par, if not maybe a little bit better than The Force Awakens. So that's kind of like hanging around the middle of my ranking because I overall really did enjoy it, especially since I've followed everything to do surrounding these characters. The only things that I would have maybe liked a little bit of is if we had gotten Boba Fett in on the action, because it was kind of his grudge initially against the twins. Like maybe like, hey, dude, could would you be willing to help me with this situation? That would be nice, but it's fine. It does almost certainly kill any chance of a season 2 unless they decide to bring in a different crime syndicate into play. But they were really kind of setting up the twins to potentially be the long running thing for Boba Fett. We'll see. If they were to do something, we'll see. Anywho, overall, I think that this is a very fun film. There's a lot of very fun practical effects. There's a few things that felt a little bit off, like the Gunrunner ship for some reason, even though as presumably it's only been there for like at max a week, maybe a month, if that, because time in all Star Wars movies is weird if you think about it too much. It looks extremely overgrown for a ship that's kind of just landed there. So that's a bit odd, but otherwise that's fine. The amount of time that the Mandalorian and Grogu are stuck on the planet is a bit skewed as well. We're not entirely sure how long it takes, and the fact that the medicine just works when it needs to is a bit silly, but that's fair. It is setting up the potential of in future like Mandalorian stuff him dying. Like there's a lot of things in the show and in this film that are pointing towards he might not survive it completely. Even if he does, the whole point is like a lot of the things that are mentioned is that eventually Grogu will have to let go and accept Din Djarin's eventual death, because Din Djarin is a human who, from the looks of it, has like maybe another good 40 to 60 years, maybe. It's hard to tell how long humans live in Star Wars. But if he were to survive super long, it still is a blink of an eye to Grogu's species. Because Grogu's species can live like hundreds